I love small businesses. That's why I'm on some of the boards that I'm on. That's why I have the connections that I do, because we all work together, right? We help build this amazing ecosystem of Lehigh Valley businesses.
Welcome to YMI Talking, a podcast where the guests are so good, you'll wonder why the host is even talking. In each episode, you will hear one of the leaders of the Lehigh Valley's vibrant business hub. They will tell you the keys to their success, the mistakes they've made, and what they have in store for the future. Here is the host of YMI Talking, from YMI Insurance, Jimmy Honachik.
All right, that is me. I'm Jimmy Honachik, and I'm super duper excited for this episode. Derek Wallen is here. I don't know where to start listing off the things that Derek's involved in, but I'm going to do my best. So if you are anywhere near the Bethlehem area, you have touched, you have eaten, you have been engaged in one of his businesses. We've got Roasted, which is a delicious restaurant in Bethlehem. We have Country Club Brewing, which makes awesome beer in Bethlehem. We've got Lehigh Valley Printing, which does a ton of printing from shirts to swag, you name it, they do the printing. We've got the Lehigh Valley Beer Fellowship. We've got Big Dog Bourbon. There's too much to list. So Derek, somehow you made time for me. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start with the list that I just did. Where do you focus the primary parts of your time? Like, what do you consider number one for you?
I think it's all split.
Yeah.
I think probably the printing company would be the most of my time, and then Roasted and Country Club.
Okay. And so how did you get started in business? You're clearly a man of business. So how did you get started then?
So my background is Apple computers,
Okay.
and I actually have an Apple IT consulting company as well.
You didn't tell me about that.
Very, very few clients left in it, mainly maintain them just because I have so many other things going on.
Yeah.
But from that, I had a friend that worked at a restaurant. They were going to be selling it, and we wanted to jump at the opportunity. I probably around 2010, 2011, I started really getting into cooking, loving food, and started to envision having a restaurant. She talked to the owner. We, negotiated a deal that fell through, but 3 years later, we opened Roasted. In that time, I'm like, they don't have any t-shirts. Maybe I'll buy a screen printing press. And I went on Craigslist. I found this company that was a basement shop for partnership, up for partnership, about 50%. And that kind of just fell into place. And we started in Bethlehem in a small 400 square foot office, moved all our equipment there. It was super tight. And within a year and a half, 2 years, we then grew out of 4 different places.
Wow.
Into the place that we're in now, which is 4,000 square foot. We went from manually screen printing, manually taking the squeegees and rubbing them, pushing ink through the screens and printing the shirts, to an automatic screen printing press that I can print upwards of 1,100 shirts an hour.
Wow. And it is an operation. I came to you around Christmas time asking for like 12 shirts, and you were like, Jimmy, I will do this for you, but that's not how we do things here. You're like, you do much larger quantities.
We do bulk. But, I love small businesses. That's why I'm on some of the boards that I'm on. That's why I have the connections that I do, because we all work together, right? We help build this amazing ecosystem of Lehigh Valley businesses.
And you are very entangled in the fabric of the Lehigh Valley, I would say. Like, one of the stories I love the most from you is your marriage story. Can you tell everyone sort of what happened there?
Yeah. So it was both my wife and I's second marriage. So we said we wanted something small. It started with this surprise vacation that had us in Austin, Texas.
Do you want to? I didn't know this was a thing. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So we did this thing called Pack Up and Go.
Okay.
Pack Up and Go is a Philadelphia Pittsburgh travel company.
Mm-hmm.
You basically say a budget, say you like cold, you like warm, you like beaches, you like casinos, you like running. They profile you and basically plan an entire vacation for you.
Wow.
A week ahead, they'll give you a snapshot. Typically, these are 3 days, but I think they go like 3 to 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we did a 3-day. We said, this is our budget. I like the cold. My wife would like it a little bit warmer. It was February. So I said, a little bit warmer climate. So they, a week ahead of time, said it's going to be about 70 degrees, what you should pack. And then about 5 days ahead of time, you get an envelope.
Yeah.
You can open that envelope and see everything that you're doing. Or you can open the first part of it, which says to show up at an airport at X time.
Oh, get out.
And then you can open it at that time. So both of us are very easygoing. So we said, okay, it says show up at Newark Airport, 6 a.m. on Friday.
Oh my God.
So we do that. We do like a little Facebook Live video and open the package, and it says you're going to Austin.
Wow.
Neither of us had been to Austin before. Food scene is incredible.
It is, yeah.
So they planned a food tour for us. It was Valentine's Day the day we went. So they planned a reservation at a restaurant for us just in case.
Get out.
They said we could cancel if we wanted. And then it was funny because when we went down, we're checking in. The clerk was like, sorry, we're really busy today. It's Austin Marathon weekend. And now we're like, is this just happenstance or coincidence that like we're both runners?
Yeah.
But typically that closes 2 weeks ahead of time. So as soon as we got up to the hotel, we looked, I'm like, registration is still open.
No way.
So we signed up. I was going to run the marathon, but that's just so much time, for a 3-day travel adventure. So I ran the half, she ran the 5K.
Yeah. And I'm going to interrupt you again. Like you told me a story about where you do just kind of randomly do these runs, and a half marathon is not nearly as interesting as the one you were telling me about. Do you remember that? In DC, I want to say.
Yeah. So down, backstory again, I started running. I was injured. I started running. It kind of got me mentally out of my funk. And then I started running trail. And it became just you and I go out for coffee, but we go out for a run.
Yeah.
And I was running a ton. So, I went from running a half marathon, my 5th, I think, in October. And then in January, I ran a 50K.
Wow. And
then in February, I ran a 40 miler. And then I ran my first road marathon in March. And at the end of the year, this was a Wednesday, I'm like, I have a pretty good base built up.
Yeah.
Every month I've run at least a marathon distance or more.
Right.
So I signed up for a 100 miler.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I just paced a friend. We went out and crewed and paced him maybe 2 months before this. And it really got me like thinking about a 100 miler.
Yeah.
This new one called Devil Dogs 100 came up. It was Triangle, Virginia, so right out of Quantico.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm just going to go down and do it. Like, I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just, it's 4 days early. I'm just going to go down. I'll drive down that night, go to registration, sleep in my car, wake up and run this race.
What I'm not hearing is like the amount of preparation that I would have to put into doing something like this. You were just like, I'm going to go sleep in my car and run 100 miles.
So, I mean, I do this often where I just kind of go out and run, I just ran New York a couple months ago. But, I had 800 race miles already that year. So, it kind of was like, I'm not really training for this, but I have.
Right.
I'm running 8 times a week, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm just already trained.
So what attracts you to running so much?
I think it's just like anything that really has my interest. It's something that kind of just relaxes me, puts me in a mindful state. When I'm doing the ultra marathons, I'm doing them on trails. So I'm in the woods. It's peaceful. It's new scenery.
Your body trying to die is peaceful to you. It's incredible, like your drive and your ability to do that. But we interrupted your marriage story. We didn't even get there.
Yeah. So we got engaged. And then this was in February. So around probably like October, we started thinking about like what we could do for our wedding.
Right.
Now this was 2020. So literally February 2020, we got engaged. Wow. Pandemic happened in March.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, we both were married. Let's do some small wedding. We hike up to the Star often. Let's do it there.
The Star of Bethlehem.
The Star of Bethlehem. So one night we're drinking a little bit and we go to our friend Greg. We're like, would you like to perform the ceremony? He's like, what? He's like, are you serious? We're like, yeah. So then like 10 minutes later, he's ordained Church of the Dude. And we have everything planned. We're like, okay, let's go up New Year's Eve. We'll hike up to the Star and we'll get married.
Wow.
So Christmas comes around. We're all hanging out with some friends and we get COVID.
No.
And we're like, well, there's only 14 of us and like 7 of us have COVID. 8 of us have COVID. So I guess we're not doing this.
Right.
Really good way to get out of a wedding if you want to get married. So it happened to be a good thing because we got engaged February 15th.
Okay.
And
that's my birthday.
We're like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That was my anniversary.
We'll remember it.
Let's get married on February 15th.
Okay.
It'll be awesome. Like it's supposed to snow. So it'll make, the Star even nicer up there.
Yeah.
We bought everyone snow skis.
Okay.
And we hiked up to the sorority houses.
Wow.
Then snow skied all the way up.
Really?
Yeah. So it was really, really awesome. Afterwards, we hiked back down.
Yeah.
My partner at Roasted and my chef at Roasted made it super nice. Great lighting, great food. We even did the cake. We do a lot of vegan vegetarian things. And I have a bunch of friends that are vegan. So we did a lot of vegan, like our cake was vegan.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I guess that segues into Roasted. I mean, tell me about Roasted. You gave a little background on how you got started, but I'm curious, what gave you the vision and what does it stand for? And just tell me more about it.
So the business that we predicated our model on was very similar vibe. We kind of freshened it up though. So we want farm to table, scratch made breakfast and lunch. Primarily breakfast. We're famous for our pancakes.
There are pancakes here, right?
There are pancakes.
I'm going to sample them while you're talking, if that's okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. These aren't even pancakes, man. Look at these things. I got to show. Oh my God. Let's see if I can get this on screen.
These are our cinnamon bun pancakes.
Oh my God.
These are our best selling seasonal pancakes.
Yeah, I see why, Derek.
We have about 10 different seasonal pancakes throughout the year. Anywhere from, we use Bernard Green Valley's blueberries and our blueberry cobbler pancake.
Wow.
To Shoals Orchard apples and peaches. So we want everyone to enjoy. And
you're keeping it local again,
yes.
It sounds like. Yeah.
We try and keep it local. We try and do as much farm to table as we can. We just picked up maybe 9 months ago, Misty Valley Farm out in Northampton.
Okay, yeah.
So they provide us all with our eggs.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the vision. Who's the clientele? Like, is it Lehigh kids? Like, who do you get in there?
I mean, really, we get everyone, but I would say the majority is definitely Lehigh.
Okay.
Because we're in such close proximity to them.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take a bite here. This is unreal just looking at it.
Sounds great.
It's so good. It's so like sweet. The flavors are perfect. I wish I had time to just eat this here, but wow.
So that's based off our buttermilk pancake.
Okay.
We also do a vegan pancake as well. And then you can get all of the seasonal pancakes in a vegan version as well.
Really? So what's the inspiration behind doing the vegan? I feel like
It's actually this location almost. So every single business that has been there has been vegan friendly.
Really?
Yeah. And we have 4 people on staff that are vegan. So it just comes natural. I also, growing up and getting into cooking, my friends had a lot of different allergies or dietary needs where, I would cook gluten-free or vegan. So it's personal to me too, to be inclusive of everybody.
Yeah.
And really, my partner Shelly and Chef Chris as well, food is a love language, I feel like.
It is. Yeah.
So we want to encourage everyone to come out and be able to find something, when people are like, oh, what would I like? I'm like, if you like food, there's something on there for you.
Right. Yeah. It's a great story. And I didn't realize you're saying the people who had been there before were also vegan or had vegan options.
They had vegan options, Blue Sky, Green Cafe. So we already, some of those were some of the previous, going back into the 90s.
Wow.
All had full vegan or some vegan options.
And tell everyone where you are. I mean, they can.
Yeah. So we're on 22 West 4th Street.
Okay.
So right where Zest is, a block up and on the right, by Goosey Gander, block away from Lehigh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great spot. And so you do breakfast. Yeah. I know you do lunch. Do you go all the way to dinner? Like,
we don't.
Okay.
Sometimes we do pop-ups, but not really that often.
Yeah.
We do have a vast menu for like catering and things like that. We've done a lot of weddings, bridal showers, anything from like fried chicken and waffles to steaks and seafood.
Fried chicken and waffles are so good.
Yeah.
When my wife and we lived in LA and we were around the corner from Roscoe's, and I was like, I don't know what this is. And I stopped in. I fell in love. Like I couldn't stop after that.
It's one of those unique things that go together that you wouldn't necessarily, you're like, okay, like
right.
I have this like dinner mixed with this breakfast item. One of the reasons why we did that at a wedding, the bride was like, I love breakfast, but my husband would never go for it. I'm like, what if we do fried chicken and waffles? She's like, oh, that's perfect. An amalgamation of like breakfast and dinner.
Yeah, no, it is perfect. I just started watching The Bear. Have you seen The Bear at all?
I have.
Okay. Yeah. Is any of it accurate? Like,
some of it is. I mean, I like to think that.
Is that what you're like in the kitchen?
My wife would say that's how I am. Everything. There are a lot of kitchens that are run, and they're traditionally it's a hard industry. It's high stress, and there's a hierarchy and a lot of abuse and things like that in the industry, which I think is why a lot of chefs left the industry during pandemic, because they were able to. So I think it has, a lot of validity to it. Also, I think it's a very entertaining show.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. Like him in Shameless was amazing. I don't know if you watched Shameless.
I haven't seen Shameless, but I've heard about it. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a good show and I've enjoyed it. And it's made me want to cook, like watching them make and like the care and the love that they put into it. I get the sense that people in the food industry feel that way. Truly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talk about the things that are arts, right? And we always think of murals and music and things like that. But, the science of plating a plate even can be that art or expressing yourself through food.
All right. How you've got roasted and it's an art making the food. You took the printing company from a basement where you manually did everything to this huge bulk order, high functioning, business. You've got Country Club. Like how is my question. How do you do all of this?
I mean, honestly, it comes down to the people that surround me. There's partners in most of the businesses that I have.
Yeah.
Roasted, I couldn't do it without Shelly. Shelly is the day-to-day face of Roasted.
Yeah.
Printing company, same thing. My partner, Tim, like he has another business as well. He has a travel agency, but he's there, 60% of the time.
Right.
So without these people, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've really been getting good at either delegating or saying, I can push that off till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Definitely, is it as good as if I had one business I was focusing all of my energy into it? Probably not.
Right.
I could do better, but then I can strive for better as well.
Yeah. And it's not coincidence that they've all been successful. I mean, I think you must do a good job finding the right people, if that's part of the success. Like, how do you look for people to partner with? Like, what does that calculus look like to you?
So it's really tough. I mean, I feel like a lot of things just kind of fall into place.
Yeah.
And we get good vibes. I mean, I look at my roasted staff, and the vibe that all of them have are very similar. Good, easygoing, happy, because honestly, food is only half of it, right? If your customer experience isn't as good and the meal is phenomenal, you might not go back.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah. No, that's great. So then Country Club, that is coming up on 1 year or just past 1 year?
Yeah, just past 1 year. We're celebrating our first anniversary coming up.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is the idea behind that? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So, Mike Cromer brewed for 13 years.
Yeah.
Home brewing, super, super good. He owned a trucking company, so he got around a lot, started to make friends with other brewers. Again, just has a passion for something, and you can really see it in his beer.
Yeah.
One day decided I want to open a brewery. And other people got on board, and, pandemic, construction, that building was a garage that was owned by the same owner as Social Still.
Yeah.
It sold, then became available. Everything was planned for it. They went to start doing work, and they're like, city's like, you gotta rebuild this. You can't use this building. So brand new building now.
And it's a beautiful building.
It is.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
I was trying to quote their insurance. And so I'm working with my dad, my partner, and I had been in there, and I found it on Google Maps, and it was still the old building. Yeah. And I knew what it looked like. And I was like, Dad, this is the building I'm looking at. And he said, what are you talking about? So the amount of work that you guys put into that is no joke, to get it where it is right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. And so, I mean, who do you cater to, and sort of what are the hours, and how does it work?
So, I mean, it's craft beer. There's 35 breweries in the Lehigh Valley, greater Lehigh Valley. So you have to kind of set yourself apart.
Right.
And Mike is amazing at brewing stouts. And we also like lagers.
Yeah.
So those stouts kind of draw people. You don't see, too bad we couldn't sample something. You don't see like the viscosity, the thicker stouts here, the higher, we'll never be below 10%. We're around 13% on this Coconuts Falling. Fresh ingredients, going back to my roots of roasted, let's do everything fresh. He has the same mentality, and as you say, oh, how have you set yourself up? It just kind of happens. I have people around me that have similar mentalities. So, in our latest stout, roasted, toasted 160 pounds of fresh coconut, in which we adjunct into the beer.
That's so much coconut. I don't know measuring coconut, but that sounds like a ton.
Not quite a ton in an empirical measure.
Yes.
So we're using all these fresh ingredients, and have years of experience of kind of playing around with different things to produce the product. Mostra coffee is used in it, which is a great coffee bean in North Carolina. And just, another one that I actually started with, the first time I helped him brew an adjunct, Thai banana. Banana for 50 pounds is $1,600.
Yeah.
The best ingredients, but it's expensive.
Right.
Wow.
And I think you put yourselves in an interesting point. To your point, there are, a bunch of breweries in the Lehigh Valley, and I'm sure lots of them make lots of IPAs. Because it's that's the buzz thing now.
It's not only a buzz thing; it's quick,
right?
So it's very quick to do an IPA versus like a lager, or, we'll just spend a month adjuncting our stout.
Yeah.
To get that flavor profile that we want. So it's a lot of time thing too.
Yeah.
But if you want to brew every day, like IPAs, it turns around really fast. You can do some stuff with them as well.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I mean, there's more flavors or nuances nuances to a stout or a darker beer.
Even our seltzers and sours.
You guys do seltzers and sours. Yeah.
So our seltzers are unlike any other seltzer.
Okay.
You get
what separates them?
It just the taste.
Yeah.
You don't have that real like weird aftertaste.
Correct.
In it that you get some.
I was just going to be like I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, that feeling in your mouth.
We do a base seltzer and then we adjunct it with different things.
Okay.
Same with our sour base. So we can do pretty much any flavor. Our blue, which kind of tastes like blue raspberry, is our best seller.
Okay.
We'll go to we did a beer festival. I think in like 17 minutes we kicked our seltzer and our stout.
Wow.
And this is a 4-hour beer festival.
Yeah.
And we still had IPA left at the end of the day. So people really are attracted to that other thing.
Absolutely. And so you and Mike got mixed up because you were able to do the coconut, or?
Yeah, honestly, I, started spending a little bit more time at the brewery, helping do some of the beers.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how we kind of connected. I have a lot of different resources, and, I've been in a few businesses that have helped me with some of the knowledge to help him and help the business expand a little bit. So it's kind of how that happens.
Yeah. Like I said, you are intertwined in the fabric of the Lehigh Valley, it seems like. And one thing I love about you is you do all of this, right? Like you are a businessman, clearly, but you make time for the family, or you incorporate the family. I mean, tell me, I guess, about like your philosophy there and how you go about incorporating the family.
I mean, family is everything.
Yeah.
Growing up, it was just my mom and I, and, we were really, really close. And I love that. Even when Jessica and I got together, she's like, kid talk. We're like, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And a few years later it did happen. And I'm like, I'm going to make time, I'm busy, but obviously that comes first. But, he's such a good kid. I mean, he's only 2 years old. He was just 2 in November. And he just goes, I feel like he has a similar mentality as me. He kind of goes with the flow. We'll bring him out. He's been to every single one of Laura Blythe's fashion shows.
That's awesome.
He dresses in little suits that I try to match myself with. He just is such a happy kid, and everyone's enamored with him, and they almost expect him to come to events.
Right.
So it's made it easier for me, who loves to go out, network, do different events and stuff like that, to be able to do that. And my wife also loves to do all this stuff. So, we all pair or trio well.
Where does that come from? The love of, whether it's networking or being involved in the community, like where does that come from, do you think?
I mean, I think the community involvement probably is, definitely how I was raised. I was always with my mom doing whatever we were doing, going to work with her. And I think that kind of instilled values of that. But I mean, the social aspect, it's really hard. Everyone's always like, you have just a ridiculous social life. And
right.
Like, Jackson has more of a social life than I do. And, I take a step back and I'm like, yeah, we really do a lot. But, we like to enjoy life.
Yeah.
We like to go out, be active in the community. We like talking to people, and I think it just kind of snowballs on itself. Another thing that we haven't really talked about beforehand, but I just joined 3 months ago, Victory House of Lehigh Valley board.
Oh, wow.
So they are a men's homeless shelter in Southside Bethlehem. I started like 4 years ago with the church that I'm friends with the pastor, just cooking food for them.
Yeah.
And then slowly being more involved, going to their golf tournaments and then helping out with their golf tournament, and using all the experiences that I have to kind of help bring new ideas to that. And it just is one of those things where, I'm right place, right time, or, building connections.
Yeah.
And I always appreciate that these people are like, oh, you have a lot of great knowledge. Like, would you like to help us out?
Yeah.
And ask me for whatever.
Right.
And typically we give, we during the pandemic, we donated over 1,500 meals, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
We got some community sponsors. So it's not just us doing it, but people see that and say, oh, this is, you could be used as a vessel to help us in this cause.
And I know we're running out of time, but the pandemic, I mean, I can't imagine running a restaurant and then donating like food on top of that. Walk me just through what that was like in your life.
I mean, it definitely was a change. We had something great going. We were 3 years in, and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And even, I bought a building to do expansion of restaurant a month before. No, 3 days before.
Wow.
So, we primarily were less than 1% takeout.
Yeah.
We were able to stay open through the pandemic, but we furloughed everyone. We had to change to 100% takeout.
Right.
I, talked to papers and stuff to try and create a wave of knowledge of like, hey, if you're using Uber Eats, DoorDash, like they're charging 20, 30, upwards of 50%.
Yeah.
On top of the fees that they're getting from you, which is not helping the restaurant. It's helping cash flow, but they can't make any money off of that. So there was a lot of different things that happened that we were able to pivot and overcome.
Yeah.
I know for the first like 3 weeks, I think I'm like everyone, you can get unemployment, and I kind of just ran everything.
Wow.
And then slowly brought people back.
Yeah.
Slowly said, okay, we're going to use our own network of drivers rather than having these apps.
Yeah.
And bringing people back. And luckily, like when it started to transition, people were like, we want to support everything and everyone.
Yeah.
Space is tight. You've been in Roasted. It's a 1,000 square foot, 1,100 square foot.
Yeah.
And having to social distance in there, was almost impossible.
You're right, though. It's weird how like divisive and hard that time was. And yet I remember like thinking we need to support like the local businesses, and it did switch a lot of people's mentality, at least for a hot minute there.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
In the beginning, everyone was tipping like super aggressively. And everyone wanted to support everyone.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I love Lehigh Valley. You've talked before, like I moved out a little bit, but came back.
Yeah.
It's such a great ecosystem. There's so many great people, so many great things to do, and we're so close to other things that it makes it an amazing place to live.
You just got me inspired. I'm even more happy that I'm here. It's great. All right, so we're basically out of time. I know that you've listened, so we do the Notch segment where we kick it up a notch. Notch is our sponsor. They make these custom cocktails, and you tell them kind of what mood you're in. So it's the end of a week, and Derek's ready to kick back. He's got the option of stouts. He's got the option of bourbon. What does Derek kick back with?
I mean, I think I always default to kind of two drinks.
Okay.
Tanqueray and tonic, which is my mother's favorite drink.
Yeah.
And Maker's Manhattan.
Okay.
But, with a large whiskey collection, there's some other options out there. But I would definitely say those two drinks.
Yeah, the Manhattan is my go-to as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
It's great.
All right. Well, anything else that you want to hit or say before we wrap this up?
just visit us, follow us on Instagram, see what we're doing. Hopefully it inspires you. And feel free to reach out to me with any questions whatsoever.
And you guys, we didn't even touch into your social media. Like, you guys crush it there. I wish we had time to pick your brain. We will have to do this again. There's too much to cover in one. Yeah. So thanks again, Derek, for coming on. I really appreciated having you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the YMI Talking Podcast. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more content from amazing personalities in the Valley, please subscribe, leave a rating, and drop us a quick review.